friends. Today I'm going to be giving you a glimpse of what we ate over the course of 1 week. It's early spring and it's still quite cold, so we are enjoying some soup tonight. This is one of my favourite soup recipes. You can really put whatever vegetables you like in it, but I like to use lots of root vegetables. And today I'm also adding some butternut squash that I had left over in the fridge. As always with soups, there's a lot of vegetable preparation that needs to go on. So I'm preparing onions, carrots, swede, leeks, and of course the butternut squash. Swede is one of those long forgotten vegetables, but I think it's so tasty in a soup mixed with other vegetables. Another way that I really enjoy eating it is steamed, then mixed with butter and pepper and baked in the oven. My dad used to make this every Sunday for Sunday lunch and it was so good. I have to say I don't like swede when it's just boiled in a stew or anything like that. But when it's mixed with other vegetables and pureed, it adds so much flavour. Give it a go if you find some swede in your local supermarket. Buy some and add it to your next soup and see what you think. Now that spring is here, I'm having a lot of trouble finding butternut squash, and I kind of wish that I bought more of it in the autumn and stored it, because we really enjoy butternut squash roasted in soups, lots of different ways, and I just can't find it anymore. So I'm going to have to find a new favourite vegetable for this spring and summer until these are back in season. This was half of one that I had left over in the fridge, and I didn't realise at the time that it would be the last one that I could get this year. Adding salt to your soup is very important, and this might look like a lot of salt, but there's an awful lot of liquid going in there, and there's no other source of salt. This is homemade broth. I made it using a pig's head, which I didn't enjoy particularly, but the broth has really good flavour. It is not salted, so I have to make sure that I really season my dishes when I'm using this broth really, really well. So I'm adding salt, plenty of salt, and plenty of freshly ground black pepper. Bring that to the boil and then leave it to simmer for about 30 minutes until the vegetables are nice and soft. I like to take out 2 scoops of vegetables with a slotted spoon, leave them to one side, and then I use an immersion blender to puree the soup directly in the pot. Just make sure you turn the heat off the soup first. I puree that until it's really smooth. It makes a lovely thick soup, and then I add these vegetables bits back. I'm also going to be adding a little bit of meat that I got from the pig's head when I boiled it to make the stock. There's not a lot of meat here, but it will give a little bit of extra flavour and texture to the soup. I'm going to serve this with some cheese scones that I made earlier on. You can get the recipe for those over on the blog. I will link them below. They're really tasty with this soup. I love the savoury flavour of those cheese scones and this creamy, delicious soup. It goes together so well. Now this next recipe did not go as planned. I had intended to make a chicken and courgette lemon tagine, which is a recipe that is over on the blog. However, when I opened up my fridge, I realised I didn't actually have any courgettes. So I had to change what I was doing, and I decided to try carrots and peppers. Now, obviously carrots and peppers and courgettes do not have the same flavour, but I do know that it is possible to make tagines with those ingredients, so I thought I'd give it a go today. It ended up being a very colourful, pretty tasty dish, but a little bit on the bitter side. I think making it with the courgettes gives a little bit of sweetness to the dish, which counterbalances the bitterness of the lemon. So I'm not entirely sure I will be doing this particular mixture again. It did work well, but courgette is definitely better. The thing I love about this recipe is that everything goes into the pot cold. There's no frying of meat, there's no sauteing of onions or anything like that. It all goes into the pot with the liquid and the spices and then cooks together on a gentle heat. You just can't mess this recipe up. So if you're looking for a really easy weeknight dinner that's a little bit special, give it a go. I'll put the link to the courgette version in the description box below. So as you can see, I've added skinless boneless chicken thighs, peppers, carrots, a whole lemon that I've cut into slices and removed the pips. I'm going to crush in some garlic. I've added 2 teaspoons of ras el hanout, which is a Moroccan spice mixture, and 1 teaspoon of turmeric. And I'm adding a little bit of stock. This is pork stock that's nice and gelled for extra flavour and nutrition. If I'd had chicken stock, I would have used that. It would probably have been a better taste. I've also just simply used water in the past, and that works out really well too. So bring it to the boil and let it simmer for about 30 minutes. Today is Wednesday, and on Wednesday our butcher's has a special offer on minced beef, so I always go and buy some minced beef on a Wednesday. And today I decided to make some spaghetti bolognese. We haven't had this for a long time. It used to be our absolute favourite meal. For some reason now my kids don't like it as much as they used to, so I don't make it very often, but I still really enjoy it, so I decided to make it tonight. To make this bolognese sauce, I fry the minced beef. There's about 1.2 kilos in there. Then I add the chopped onions. I soften them with the minced beef. I then add some sliced mushrooms. I like to add plenty of mushrooms because I absolutely love them. I'm going to crush in some garlic. And then I'm going to add a little bit of red wine that I had left over in the fridge, along with 2 cans of chopped tomatoes. And I always try and buy really good quality tomatoes, because I don't know if you've noticed that on the ingredients of canned tomatoes, sometimes there is a lot of water in there. Sometimes you only get 62% tomatoes in a can of tomatoes, which I think is terrible. So I like to look at the ingredients and make sure that I'm getting close to 100% tomatoes if I can. Just to make the sauce go a little bit further and to clean out the cans, I add a little bit of water into the bottom of one can and swirl it around, pour it into the other can, swirl it around and pour it into the sauce. And I'm going to be finishing this off with a little bit of stock, just to get the texture and the amount of liquid that I need in the sauce. Of course, you always need to add plenty of salt, because the stock is not salted. When I used stock cubes, I didn't used to add very much salt at all, but now that I make my own, I always have to make sure that I put enough salt in there. I also like to add some herbs, either oregano or thyme or parsley. You can really add whichever herbs you prefer. And then I let it simmer for a good long time, at least half an hour, and more like 1 hour if I can. I'm serving this with pasta for those of us that can eat gluten, and rice for my boys that are gluten-free. We also like to add a sprinkle of parmesan on the top. My next recipe is chicken bowls. So this is a little bit like poke bowls but with chicken, and I like to make sure that everything's hot. So when we went to Costco a few weeks ago, I bought plenty of chicken breasts and I cooked them all in the oven and sliced them and put them in the freezer so that I could have some meat that was already cooked and ready to go. That means that this meal is very easy to make. Simply make some rice, and I do this in my rice cooker. You need to add equal volumes of rice and water. So for instance here I think I put 6 cups of rice in there. I washed it 3 times and carefully poured off the water, and then I added 6 cups of water, and this is going to cook, and it normally takes about 20 to 30 minutes, I'd say, in the rice cooker. It's pretty much no fail, and I love this method. The next thing I'm making is some quick pickled cucumbers. I like to have a little bit of acidity with these rice bowls, so I'm adding some sugar and some vinegar and some salt to some cucumbers that I had already chopped in the fridge, and I'm just going to let that sit there and pickle slightly while I'm preparing the rest of the meal. I'm going to grate some carrots, I'm going to cut up some avocado, and I'm just going to slightly warm the chicken in a pan just so that it's not really cold out of the fridge. Next, I'm going to be making some sauces to go over the chicken and the rice. So I'm going to start with a runny mayonnaise, and I use the same technique as in the recipe that you can find over on the blog. I'll link it in the description box below, but I'm not going to be putting as much oil in it, so it will be a lot runnier, which is what I want for this recipe in particular. So in goes an egg, some oil, some vinegar, some salt and some mustard, and then I use an immersion blender just to gently mix in the egg. I pull up the immersion blender to incorporate all of the oil, and then it's done, a nice runny mayonnaise dressing. And the next sauce that I'm going to be making is a date and soy sauce. A few weeks ago I made some date syrup. It went down a treat with everybody, and there's only a very small amount left in this jar, so I decided to make that small amount into a sauce. I warmed up the date syrup slightly so that it would incorporate better with the other ingredients. I added some vinegar and some soy sauce, mixed it together carefully, and that's it. It was done. A really tasty sweet and sour sauce that's got some healthy sugar in there to go on top of this chicken and rice bowl. So there you have it, chicken, avocado, pickled cucumber, grated carrots. I also added some sauerkraut and some sprinkles of black sesame, and of course my delicious sauces, the homemade mayonnaise sauce and the date and soy sauce dressing. It was absolutely delicious. We thoroughly enjoyed this meal. The final meal of the week is pork and onion stir fry. So I had some thin pork steaks in the freezer, and I'm just cutting them up thinly into strips. I'm going to let them fry in my pan, and then I'm going to add some sliced onions. I'm going to season it with some soy sauce, and then it's pretty much done. Oh, and a bit of honey too. Very easy to make. I made this in the afternoon and I heated it up in the evening when we were ready to eat. It was absolutely delicious. To add some freshness to this meal, I decided to make carrot salad, which is something that we love to eat. I decided to make an Asian style dressing for this salad, so with soy sauce, sesame seed, lemon. It was very good. You can also add a little bit of honey or sugar into the dressing if you like. That also makes it taste extra special, but I decided to keep it savoury this time. I'm adding a little bit of minced garlic to finish it off and giving it a good stir with my wonderful guitar salad spoons. I hope you like them. In goes the honey and the soy sauce, and I'm going to let the meat cook in its sauce for probably about 15 or 20 minutes. I'm going to be serving this meal with rice, but I wanted another vegetable, so I bought some pak choy. We don't eat this vegetable very often, but I do enjoy it when we have it. I think it tastes really good, just quickly stir-fried, pan-fried, with a little bit of salt. So I washed it, cut it each leaf in half, and then I pan-fried it quickly in some olive oil. I like to cover it right at the end just so that it can soften nicely and let it cook for probably 5 minutes. That's pretty much all it takes. Well, there you have it. Those are our 5 meals this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave me a comment to let me know what you're eating in your house at the moment. And I'll see you next time. Bye.